Here's something I don't think I've ever spoken about on this channel before. I recently wrote a book. It took about 2 years and it's not published. In fact, I'm currently in the process of trying to ship it to publishers, but the point is, I did it. It's a goal that I've wanted to achieve for years, but after more failed starts than I really care to count, I finally got off my arse and got it done. And it's all because of just one quote. And I want to share that quote with you, and for any budding writers out there who might be looking to write their own book someday, this quote essentially gave me the motivation to, get my manuscript written, so hopefully it can offer that same motivation to you. But before we get into that, if you want to tune into more videos about storytelling in books, film, and TV, then this is the place to do so. So if that all sounds pretty good, why not hit that subscribe button while you're here? But back to the topic at hand. So just before I actually started to write this book, I was starting to think that maybe it was the time to get back on the horse, so to speak. At that point, I hadn't had an attempt in about 2 to 3 years, in fact, potentially longer than that. So I was really starting to feel like maybe it was the time to give it another go. I was on my honeymoon in New York at the time, and it gave me a proper chance to disconnect from work and think about what I really wanted to do with regards to this book and how to actually go about it. I said as much to my wife, and on one of the days we went to the Strand bookstore on Broadway, which I can highly recommend, and while we were there, she found this bad boy, which is the absolute holy grail for anyone looking to write their own book. It's called Before and After the Book Deal by Courtney Maum, and I cannot recommend it enough. And yet, for all of the information that this book packs, it was one quote from Matthew Thomas that had me absolutely hooked. So much so that I wrote it down on the whiteboard in my home office so that I could see it every day and never forget the level of motivation that it first gave to me when I initially read it. And over 2 years later, it's still there. So here's what Thomas said. Not finishing the novel would have dealt my psyche a blow whose imagined pain was worse than the considerable frustration of facing my limitations every day. As soon as I read that, I knew exactly what Thomas was talking about. All of my false starts to actually get a book written just left me feeling frustrated with the fact that I just hadn't made any progress, and as the years went by, it remained exactly the same. And it got to a point where I realized that whatever effort it would take to actually sit down and get this done couldn't be anywhere near as bad as the frustration I was feeling in knowing that I could just see the years just going by and absolutely no progress being made. And the knowledge that unless something changed, I would just never be an author. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but it was the reality that I was faced with. But when viewed in that context, I realized it was just so much easier to get up a little bit earlier, brew some coffee, and get the writing done before I went to work. And while that might sound a little simple on the surface, that's how I got it done. Granted, I can't guarantee that it'll get you published, and heck, I can't even guarantee that my book will get published. I've already started to have some rejections come in for the book, and so I'm starting to have to rethink about how I want to market it to potential agents. But, and this is the key caveat here, I have a book, and that's something I couldn't say 2 years ago. So I hope that this advice helps you in getting your own book off the ground. I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and let me know in the comments how you get on. And above all, thank you for watching.